Chapter 81. Stake of Heavenly Figure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 81. Stake of Heavenly Figure. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Zhang Yunxi's body stiffened and immediately looked at Yi Lingchen worryingly. Lingchen, you mustn't do this. Let's get out of here. Her father was an example. It made her despise gambling, but at the same time fearful of it. That was a road without return. She was unwilling to see Yi Lingchen fall into gambling. Yi Lingchen smiled as he shook his head. I feel like gambling, but I have never gambled before. I don't know how to. How can I win if you knew? Li Si's smile turned brighter. You can learn if you don't know. Young Master Yi, please follow me. On the other side of the table was a book rack. On it were books about gambling techniques. Biography of the God of Gamblers, Teachings of the King of Gamblers, Psychology of Gambling, and others of the same genre. I have collected the majority of books on gambling techniques from all over the country. It covered almost all gambling techniques and styles. If you master them, you will surely be the next God of Gamblers. Young Master Yi can have a look at them if you're interested. After that, Li Si eagerly recommended some of the better titles to Yi Lingchen. You are well prepared. Yi Lingchen commended with a smile on his face. He then randomly grabbed a book from the shelf. Self-Studying Secrets of the Casino, Gambling Proficiency +1, Self-Studying Secrets of the Casino, Gambling Proficiency +1, Self-Studying Secrets of the Casino, Gambling Proficiency +1. Young Master Yi, you sure know what to pick. This book has the most in-depth explanation of the casino. If you can comprehend it, you will be undefeatable. Yi Lingchen nodded, then put on a wise man act. To be honest, my nickname in the field is called Prodigy. I only need to glance through these gambling techniques to be a professional gambler. Pfft. Not only Li Si, everyone around him started laughing out loud. Prodigy. This must be a joke. Ha ha ha, he is an idiot, getting hooked after some simple words of praise. Li Si suppressed his urge to laugh, then started sucking up to Yi Lingchen. I can tell with one look that young Master Yi is someone special. You fully deserve the title of Prodigy. Yi Lingchen nodded in satisfaction. If I win later, you guys better not be dishonest about it. Ha ha ha, young Master Yi must be joking. We're running an official casino. Dishonesty. Impossible. Li Si's face bloomed into a bright smile, thumping his chest while promising Yi Lingchen. He could see the tens of millions waving at him. This fellow was thinking of winning. Nonsense. Let me read for a while first, Yi Lingchen said. All right, young Master Yi. You continue your study. After that, the rowdy casino transformed into a special sight. A young man was reading through books after books. His reading speed was extremely quick. In fact, it could not be considered reading. It would be more appropriate to call it flipping through pages. Many of them looked at him and ended up shaking their heads in disapproval. An idiot trying to act cool. You will cry when you lose all your money. BDNVL.M. Li Si stood in a dark corner, his cold gaze locked onto Yi Lingchen. ****, just wait until I get all your money. You'll see how I deal with you. To Li Si, he was enduring humiliation to carry out his mission. Lingchen, are you really going to gamble? Zhang Yunxi was on the verge of tears. You must not gamble. Relax, I know what I'm doing. You need to trust me. Yi Lingchen laughed, a cold gleam flashed in his eyes. It's not that easy to take my money from me. Not only would I win the money back, I will give them a taste of their own medicine. After all, this money was obtained illegally. I will turn this casino into history. But they will surely cheat and be dishonest about it. Zhang Yunxi said in a concerned tone, these are not people that we should cross. Let's go back now and pass our days in peace. If we don't remove this tumor, it will only trouble others. Just sit back and watch. Having said that, Yi Lingchen strode towards the table. Seeing Yi Lingchen taking action, Li Si's eyes brightened and immediately welcomed him. "Young Master Yi, how are things? Are you ready to play?" Yi Lingchen nodded. "I've made a lucky break and I'm ready to test my luck." "Made a lucky break? Don't make me laugh." Li Si smirked in his heart, clearing a path for Yi Lingchen. "Move aside, young Master Yi is coming through. Young Master Yi wants to play on this table." Yi Lingchen's choice was the most basic golden flower game. Everyone would be given 3 cards and then compare the outcome. Winner takes the money. With such a ruckus, many people looked over towards Yi Lingchen. "How much is the minimum bet?" Yi Lingchen sat down in a composed manner and asked casually. "The minimum bet is 100 renminbi. Li Si replied with a smile. The minimum bet indicated each bet had to be placed in multiples of 100 renminbi. Only 100 renminbi. Yi Lingchen looked dissatisfied, waving his hand and tried to leave. "I'm not playing with anything lower than 1000 renminbi. Wait a moment, young Master Yi." Li Si urgently called out, "It was my mistake. It's 1000 renminbi." With that said, he signaled around with his eyes. Immediately there were people from the crowd that came over and seated on the others' seats on this table. There were a total of 6 people including Yi Lingchen. The atmosphere instantly felt off. "Hee, you're looking for death. Don't blame me for it. Lingchen, gambling is mostly about deception. Let's not play." Zhang Yunxi continued to advise him, unable to hold it in anymore. What a timely assist. Yi Lingchen smirked, "That's right. Gambling is mostly about deception. I need to check the cards first." "Not a problem." Li Si had no objections. He smiled as he passed the cards to Yi Lingchen. Yi Lingchen did it as shown in movies, simply went through the cards and passed it back to Li Si. "There's no problem with the cards. Let's start." Following that, the cards were shuffled and distributed. 3 cards per person. "Yunxi, why don't you take a look for me?" Zhang Yunxi was nervous with sweaty palms. Her face flushed red and shuddered with anxiety. "All right." She lifted the cards, then opened them with trembling hands. She did not dare to blink at all. It was nerve-wracking. The cards were 3, 6, and A. Zhang Yunxi sighed with a dejected face, "So small." "Pass." Yi Lingchen declared. The final winner was a fat guy. His largest card was only AK. He, I sure was lucky. "I can't believe I won with AK," the fat guy laughed, then added with some feigned wisdom, "Golden Flower is a game of guts. It's my fault. Our ace was the biggest. We could have won." Zhang Yunxi was regretful for losing so much money in that one loss. Second round, Yi Lingchen still passed. The third round was the same. Up until the 10th round, Yi Lingchen was doing the same. With a minimum bet of 1000 renminbi, Yi Lingchen had already lost 10,000 renminbi. Zhang Yunxi bit her lips. That amount was a huge sum for her, yet it was all gone in just a few rounds. The others looking at Yi Lingchen were also shaking their heads. This kid was a rookie, totally ignorant to the psychology of Golden Flower. Passing directly whenever his cards were bad. This made it easy for others to manipulate him. When he got good cards, it was easy for others to tell, ensuring nobody would up his bet. An inexperienced young man trying to gamble. Was that not looking for trouble? However, Li Si was getting anxious. His aim was not just for a few tens of thousands. He wanted the millions that Yi Lingchen had. With a well-hidden signal to the dealer immediately understood him and started shuffling the cards. Yi Lingchen's eyes focused in the direction of the shuffling cards. Each of the cards flashed across his eyes as his mouth turned into a smile. Next was the distribution of cards. Yi Lingchen broke his routine. After losing so much money, my luck should be reversing now. This round, I'll not see the card. Let's start the bet with 1,000 renminbi. Betting without looking at the cards. That was a movie called Tempt in Golden Flower. If the opponents looked at their cards, they will have to lose double the amount. Call. Me too. I raise again. Yi Lingchen's expression remained the same, raising the bet for more than 10 rounds. The pool of money on the table had formed a little mountain, somewhere around 600,000 renminbi. Meanwhile, Zhang Yinshi was too nervous for words. Her mouth was dry, feeling as though her body was dehydrated. Finally, Yi Lingchen lifted the cards to have a look. His movement was like that of a rookie. After a look, his expression told everything. With that smile on his face, it was obvious that his cards were pretty good. The others started looking at their cards too. In the end, 3 of them folded, leaving the table with Yi Lingchen and 2 others. I'll raise 10,000 renminbi. Yi Lingchen exclaimed in surprise. It was rare for him to get some good cards. Zhang Yinshi grabbed onto Yi Lingchen's arm, to the point of her nails biting into his flesh. The eyes of the 2 opponents gleamed as they smiled. Call. Me too. I'll raise 100,000 renminbi. Yi Lingchen raised the stakes continuously like a madman. Call. The other tables had stopped too, surrounding them. None of them had seen a scene like that. This kid has nerves of steel. This is not just raising the bet, he's betting his life. Some of them with lower endurance were clutching at their hearts. It was too exciting. It was too intense. The chips on the table had reached a total of 5 million renminbi. By then, it was only Yi Lingchen and the fatty facing off. Lingchen, calm yourself. Zhang Yinshi was on the verge of tears. Nevertheless, Yi Lingchen seemed to have lost his mind. I'll raise 5 million renminbi. That one sentence sent the crowd into an uproar. Insane. Absolute insanity. F***ck. Where did this wastrel come from? He's going to lose for sure. He's clearly a rookie, losing his mind with just some good cards. There's an 80% chance that this is a setup. This kid is in trouble. Even if you're rich, you should not waste it like this. Li Si's grin widened. He could already see the countless money waving at him. Call. The fatty sneered as he broke into a grin, his gaze locking onto his prey. I still have 10 million renminbi, all in. Are you going to call? Yi Lingchen roared as he stood up, as though he was just insulted. I call. Reveal your cards. The fatty laughed heartily, then spread his 3 cards on the table, 7, 8, 9, straight flush. Dumb kid, you think your cards can be better than mine. Li Si stood up as well. The smug look on his face was clear to all, the way he looked at Yi Lingchen was no longer eager, but instead gloomy. Little B** starred, you lost. We'll be keeping your 20 million renminbi. Wahahaha. Hold on, I haven't even shown my cards. Yi Lingchen narrowed his eyes. Show your cards. Can you beat his cards? Li Si asked sarcastically. Things were unexpectedly smooth. At first, he thought it might take a few more rounds, but this dumb kid was more stubborn than a hothead. He was sure what Yi Lingchen's cards were, a pair of aces. When they distributed the cards, everything was set. Chapter 82. God of Gamblers Tune. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 82. God of Gamblers Tune. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Zhang Yinshi was short of breath from her anxiety, almost to the point of suffocating. Never in her life did she imagine that much money, yet she was witnessing so much money placed in front of her. Of all things, on a gambling table. Lingchen. She took multiple deep breaths, barely calming herself down, then looked towards Yi Lingchen with worried eyes. If they lost this round, she would surely pass out. Don't worry, relax. Yi Lingchen smiled at Zhang Yunxi. Little B asterisk starred, are you showing your cards or not? No matter how you drag it out, you're losing this round. Li Si scolded impatiently. Are you sure? Could it be that you know what my cards are? Yi Lingchen asked while giving Li Si a mischievous look. Li Si sneered, I just think that your cards should be lesser than his. This is an official casino. There's no way we will cheat. I hope you can say that when you lose. Yi Lingchen put on a smile, then took his phone out of his pocket. God of gamblers, give me strength. Dang dang dang, dang dang dang, a familiar tune sounded, the tune from the movie God of Gamblers. B asterisk starred, just what are you doing? Li Si scowled, what can a tune do? You're wrong. This is the tune of God of Gamblers. Yi Lingchen corrected him, I'm a man that brings his tune with me. Following that, he placed the cards in front of Zhang Yunxi. Yunxi, lend me your breath, bless my victory. Zhang Yunxi's pretty eyes were glued to Yi Lingchen, then carefully blew onto the cards. The surrounding crowd shook their heads, sighing in disappointment. This guy must have gone crazy from the shock of losing so much money. I'm showing my cards now. In one sentence, he managed to push everyone's focus to the limits. With the tune in the background, he lifted the cards high in the air, then placed them down quickly with a dashing pose. 3 aces. At that moment, those 3 cards seemed to be glowing, dazzling the crowd. Li Si's eyes almost popped out of its socket. In just an instant, he fell from heaven to hell. Ah! We won, we won. Zhang Yunxi covered her mouth in disbelief, her tears streaming down her cheeks. On the table, added with Yi Lingchen's 20 million renminbi, there was another 30 million renminbi extra on the side. That is to say, in this round, Yi Lingchen had earned 30 million renminbi. The dream-like situation caused Zhang Yunxi's mind to go blank. The surrounding crowd too went into an uproar. Is this for real? That kid won. A total of 50 million renminbi. Holy sh*t, my eyes. Li Si is in trouble now. This time he really met a pro. He must have been acting from the start. Rich man, let's be friends. Impossible. This is impossible. Li Si pulled on his hair while his face turned red. Glaring at Yi Lingchen, how did you get 3 aces? It should have been 2. His eyes popped wide open, then pointed at Yi Lingchen, you're cheating. Hee, if you already know what my cards were, how can you say that I'm cheating? Yi Lingchen laughed, a bet is a bet. Didn't you say that this is a legal casino? Of course it's a legal casino, but you cheated. I will never let you leave this place. Li Si's face was extremely dark, guys, send the customers out. Immediately, a group of ferocious-looking thugs with weapons in their hands came in. The crowd dared not complain and were quickly escorted out. B** starred, how dare you trick me? Li Si steeled his face, his expression exuding a strong killing intent. Today, not only will I take your 20 million renminbi, your woman, I will take your life too. That money on the table was everything he had since the opening of the casino. If Yi Lingchen took them away, his future prospects would be hopeless. Really? Yi Lingchen asked with a calm expression, I'll give you one last chance. If you kneel, apologize and let me leave with the money, I will leave it at that. Ha ha ha, wahahaha, BDNV. Li Si laughed as though he heard the funniest joke in the world. He rocked back and forth while laughing, even crying from the laughter. Stubborn to your last breath. You be starred, this is the wrong place for you to act tough. I'll have you begging for mercy later. Go. Over 20 muscular thugs immediately closed in around Yi Lingchen with baseball bats in their hands. Their bodies were bulky, almost the size of 2 adults, and were smiling with bloodlust. Die. One of them led the charge. His baseball bat raised up high and swung at Yi Lingchen's head. Yi Lingchen's eyes lowered and sent out a kick, quick as lightning. Everyone only saw a blur, then the thug flew away like a ball being kicked. He laid on the floor spasming for a bit, then turned completely still. WTF? Is that for real? That thug was at least 300 pounds. With just a kick. He flew backward. The rest of them felt their eyebrows twitching, a feeling of unease rose from the depths of their heart. It felt as though they ran into someone using hacks. However, they were like an arrow on the bowstring, unable to back down. They roared to boost their morale and rushed at Yi Lingchen together. Bang 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 bang. A rhythmic sound could be heard. It was as though Yi Lingchen was kicking a football. His kicks did not pause, kicking each as they came in an organized manner. 20 seconds later, the 20 over thugs were all lying on the floor moaning in pain. None of them were able to stand. Li Si was stunned. His forehead sweating bullets and his legs felt weak, rendering him stuck on the floor from shock. He muttered to himself, almost losing his sanity, this. How is this possible? You're not human. Zhang Yinshi was similarly shocked with her mouth agape. Her pretty eyes glowed as she stared at Yi Lingchen's back. She was trapped in absolute despair. Who would have known that Yi Lingchen was such a great fighter? Thud. Seeing Yi Lingchen walking up to him step by step, Li Si immediately fell to his knees. His face was filled with horror, begging him, "Good sir, I'm wrong. You can take the money, please let me go." Yi Lingchen gave Li Si a cold glare. "Hee, you wanted to take my life. Do you think I should let you go? Murder is illegal. You mustn't kill me." Li Si screamed. "So now you know the existence of the law." Yi Lingchen sneered, "I won't kill you, but I will break your hands. That way you won't be troubling anyone in the future." "No, don't." Li Si's eyes were filled with despair. Ring. Right at that moment, Li Si's phone started ringing. After a quick glance, his expression of despair turned into joy, as though a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw. He quickly answered the call. "Hello, young Master Lu. It's me, little Li." "What? You're coming over?" "Of course. I'll wait for you. It's just that I've run into a little trouble. I'm relieved if you're coming over. I'll wait for you." Ending the call, his face immediately turned red. With the eyes of a madman, he stared at Yi Lingchen and laughed maniacally. "Ha, you're dead. Young Master Lu is on the way. I can guarantee that you will die a horrible death, wahahaha." Chapter 83. Kneeling down mid-stride. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 83. Kneeling down mid-stride. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Young Master Lu. Yi Lingchen had a confused expression. Which young Master Lu? He's one of the princes of Capital City, Lu Group's only son, Lu Hao. Li Si's face glowed radiantly, his eyes gleaming. He had always acted with impunity and his assets are in the billions. In front of him, you're just an ant. I've once got to know a young Master Lu. Who would have thought that he would remember me? The thugs in his house alone numbered in the hundreds, and all of them are trained. They go by the name of Cleaver Gang. Ednel.co. Li Si got more excited as he bragged. His face was red and the veins on his neck were bulging. "How is it? Are you scared? If you kneel and kowtow to me now, I will consider putting in a good word for you." "Lingchen, what should we do?" Zhang Yinshi was terrified once more. Yi Lingchen laughed it off. "It's okay, we will wait here for that young Master Lu." "You're asking for death. Where young Master Lu passes, the land turns barren. I guarantee that you'll regret this." Li Si stood up, barking at Yi Lingchen like a mad dog that was waiting for its owner. 15 minutes later, Virum. The rumbling sound of the engine roared through the air from afar. rushing closer like a beast. He's here. Li Si proclaimed excitedly as though he was on drugs, young Master Lu is here. Without any other words, he rushed outside to greet the guest. A black Hummer parked in front of the villa's entrance. Li Si eagerly went forward to open the door for Lu Hao and welcomed him. Behind Lu Hao was the same bodyguard duo. The three of them stood tall with a lordly presence, ignoring Li Si. However, Li Si dared not show any discontent. He instead bent over and put on an ingratiating smile, "It's an honor for me to have young Master Lu come over for a visit." Lu Hao calmly nodded his head, then frowned, "Your place is really run down. Even my toilet is better." Of course, of course. How can my place compare to young Master Lu? Rest assured, I will arrange the best hotel for you to stay at, Li Si replied with a bow. The hotels here are surely trashy too. Lu Hao shook his head, "If not for my father asking me to come to wait out the storm over here, I'll never come to this kind of desolate town." Wait out the storm. Li Si was surprised, shocked even. What kind of person does it take to have young Master Lu go into hiding? This world has too many capable people. I too have crossed someone I should not. Fortunately, that person is generous and left it at that, Lu Hao said in a fearful tone. He still could not forget what his father Lu Tianxiong told him before Lu Hao left home. However, even though that person left it at that, the Lin family had already sent us a warning. This incident's consequences are too dire. You have gotten into deep trouble. Dad, what should we do? Will we get through this? Our family will pay dearly for sure, but you must remember to keep a low profile in the future. Make sure you never cross that person again. Dad, don't worry. I won't dare to do that again. To prevent you from causing more trouble, it'll be wise for you to stay low for now. You should go and wait out the storm. With that, Lu Hao ended up here and coincidentally contacted Li Si. Lu Hao's words had Li Si's heart skip a beat and started sweating profusely. Is this the fabled fight between the gods? Right, you said someone was stirring up trouble at your place. Lu Hao asked. Yes. That B**** cheated in my casino. He took all my savings away. Most importantly, he is a very good fighter. Li Si said resentfully. Lu Hao nodded without saying anything, but the aura he gave off was something that made Li Si excited. Young Master Lu was going to avenge him. The four of them strode in intimidatingly. Lu Hao at the forefront, strutting his way into the villa. However, mid-stride, Li Si realized that young Master Lu had prostrated himself on the floor. Ichem. Li Si was stunned for a moment. Young Master Lu, why did you suddenly kneel mid-stride? Are your legs numb? Here, let me help you. The next moment, the two bodyguards following Lu Hao too had knelt to the floor with a loud thud. Their faces were filled with horror when they saw their nemesis, which they would never forget. Yi Lingchen was seated on the chair, looking at them with an insincere smile, causing their scalp to go numb. Their legs went weak. The loss of control resulted in them kneeling. What's the matter? Li Si's face was riddled with confusion. Lu Hao greets Grandmaster Yi. Lu Hao was almost scared to tears. After calming himself with great difficulty, he finally managed to squeeze out that greeting. Boom! Li Si's mind was blown, turning blank instantly. His lips shivered. The sounds of his grinding teeth could be heard clearly. It was summer then, but his limbs felt cold. His entire body was shivering. Grandmaster Yi. He looked at Yi Lingchen fearfully, his body bent over and assumed the kneeling position on the floor. Speaking through shaking lips. Yi Lingchen ignored him, but instead turned to Lu Hao and greeted him calmly, Young Master Lu, it's been a while. Lu Hao ingratiatingly said, Grandmaster Yi, it is my honor that you still remember me. I heard that you are here to help someone get rid of me. Yi Lingchen followed with a question. Lu Hao's heart immediately sank. His head shook like a pellet drum and replied in a terrified voice, "No such thing. I would never dare to cross you." Following that, he grabbed Li Si by his side and without any words, gave him 3 big slaps across his face. "You be ****. How dare you trouble Grandmaster Yi? You've got a death wish." Lu Hao felt bitter. The reason he came out was to stay low, but coming here pushed him to the front end of the spear instead. Li Si's action was no different from sending him into a fiery pit. "It's my mistake. Grandmaster Yi, I didn't recognize you with my limited knowledge. I'm sorry." Li Si's face was already swollen, but he could not care less at a time like this, kowtowing like a madman begging for mercy. Yi Lingchen stood up slowly, then walked up to Lu Hao's side. Lu Hao swallowed a mouthful of saliva, then looked up to Yi Lingchen fearfully. Yi Lingchen lightly tapped his shoulder. "This person set up a gambling session in private and entrapped my friend. He even wanted to rob my money. As for how to settle this, I'll leave that to you." Following that, he took Zhang Yunxi with him headed for the door. "Oh right, I'm taking away the money that I won. Please go ahead. Goodbye Grandmaster Yi." Lu Hao replied politely, finally letting out a sigh of relief as he stared at Yi Lingchen's back. In that short time, his clothes were drenched in sweat. Immediately afterward, his cruel gaze locked onto Li Si, roaring, "****, are you trying to get the entire Lu family killed? Beat him to death." Crashing sounds ensued. Outside the villa, Yi Lingchen could hear Li Si's agonized screams. Meanwhile, Zhang Yunxi was still in a daze. Her mouth was slightly open with her eyes wide open. That dazed look stared at Yi Lingchen, adorable beyond compare. Chapter 84. Flaunting Your Wealth to My Mom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 84. Flaunting Your Wealth to My Mom. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. What's wrong? You don't recognize me? Yi Lingchen laughed. A little bit. Zhang Yunxi knitted her brows together. I realized that you changed a lot. You're not the same as when you were a kid. Yi Lingchen smiled. You too. You're much prettier now. Zhang Yunxi blushed then asked out of curiosity, "Oh, what happened to the cards? How did you win?" Gambling is filled with deception. Yi Lingchen looked at Zhang Yunxi. Actually, the 5 people that gambled with me were all Li Si's lackeys, including the dealer. The dealer had picked up some magic tricks and did something to the cards. That's why they could control my cards. However, right at the start when I touched the cards, I slipped an ace and hit it on me. After a moment's pause, Yi Lingchen continued, "Furthermore, when he marked the cards, I have also memorized the sequence of the cards. I knew what cards they were having too. That means your 10 consecutive losses were just an act. Was it to wait for the right chance?" Zhang Yunxi stared at Yi Lingchen with a look of surprise. "I didn't expect you to be that amazing. Gambling techniques are just some deviant skill set." "It's not worth mentioning," Yi Lingchen replied with a wave of his hand. "Right then, how did you come to know that young Master Lu?" "I'm attending Capital City University and he's from Capital City. It's just by chance that we got to know each other." Zhang Yunxi had her doubts about Yi Lingchen's answer, yet she did not question him any further. When they mentioned the university, her expression turned sullen all of a sudden. "Yunxi, I'm sorry. If I knew about it earlier, you wouldn't have had to give up university." Yi Lingchen could not help but apologize. Zhang Yunxi shook her head. "This isn't your fault. I should thank you instead. Don't forget you're still my debtor." After a moment of silence, Yi Lingchen asked, "What's your plan for the future?" "I plan to go look for a job to ease my family's stress." "What about?" "Lingchen, you're helped me enough. I can't trouble you anymore." Zhang Yunxi stated before Yi Lingchen could finish. Yi Lingchen sighed and kept silent. Without them realizing, they had reached Zhang Yinxi's home. Mr. and Mrs. Zhang were worried sick while waiting for them. Only when they saw both of them did they let out a sigh of relief. After some short exchanges, Yi Lingchen departed. He did not head home but instead ran to the town nearby. He knew at that time his parents were still working. Kai Yuan Jade Ware. That was Su Zhen's work location, selling all sorts of jade ware. Although it could not compete with the bigger stores, it had better deals. Furthermore, the jade wares they sold had decent coloration, bringing them decent business in town. Su Zhen worked as the cashier of Kai Yuan Jade Ware. The job was simple. Although not tiring, it was not relaxing either. She had to welcome the guests with a smile every day. It was already 4 p.m., the foot traffic was starting to pick up. Su Zhen continually greeted the customers that came to the shop and recommended suitable jade ware to them. The tea and water that was served was for the guests. She would have to endure the dryness that came with all the greetings and talking. Su Zhen, it's been a while. At that moment, a fashionably dressed rich lady walked up to Su Zhen and greeted her with a smiling face. The rich lady had curly hair and her face had some light makeup on. She was wearing a tight-fitting deep red wave-patterned long dress with a pair of crystal high-heel shoes. Her appearance was beautiful, her movements elegant and classy. Beside her stood a boy in a white suit with round, framed glasses. That boy was of similar age with Yi Lingchen, with an extra touch of maturity between his brows. It was apparent that he had some experience within the society. Su Zhen was taken aback, then smiled. Suya. Long time no see. Old friend, the last reunion was 2 years ago. Suya recollected. Following that, she looked at Su Zhen. I was passing by and suddenly remembered that you work here as a salesperson, so I came in to have a look. Su Zhen composed herself. You're shopping for jade. Suya nodded, seemingly frustrated. Yeah. At first, I didn't plan to spend the money. You know, people of our generation were used to being thrifty. However, my son disagrees. He insists on buying one for me. Don't you think it's aggravating? Su Zhen laughed. Is he your son? Such a filial child. Oh, I forgot to introduce you. This is my son Chu Yuan. He was never good at his studies. Fortunately, he was successful at starting his own business. Now he's the boss of a small factory. Suya continued, quick, greet Aunt Su. To be a boss at such a young age. Your son sure is capable, Su Zhen said as she adjusted her hair. It's just him doing his own things. Suya laughed, then continued, Su Zhen, I heard your son's studies were not ideal. How was his national college entrance exam results? He was rather lucky. He ended up in Capital University. Capital University. Suya gasped, but continued afterward, actually, going to universities might not be the best these days. Remember that news last time about the Huaqing University doctoral student who ended up as a butcher? Don't you think it's funny? I saw that news too. I think the aim of studying is to earn more money. Instead of wasting 4 years at the university, they might as well join the workforce earlier to earn money. Chu Yuan pushed his glasses. Take me for example. Even though I did not attend university, there are a few university graduates in my factory. Didn't they just end up working for me? Su Zhen laughed along, not saying anything. Suya, however, did not stop. Oh Su Zhen, we're the ones suffering to have our kids go to school. Your son was accepted into Capital University, but you have to suffer for another 4 more years. Look at you, selling jade ware for so many years but you're not even wearing one. I feel sorry for you. Su Zhen tightened her lips, then changed the topic. Suya, what type of jade ware are you looking for? I recommend this jade bracelet. The price is only at 2,000 renminbi, but the color is nice. Furthermore, today there's a 10% discount. This is the best deal. Only 2,000 renminbi. Chu Yuan scowled, then immediately shook his head. 2,000 renminbi is too cheap. Those are low-quality goods, not suitable for my mom's status. Su Ye threw an apologetic smile at Su Zhen. This kid is such a wastrel. He just made some money and he's letting it go to his head. His spending mindset is different from ours. Sigh, such a headache. Mom, don't you try to be thrifty for me. I don't lack money. Chu Yuan said in a generous tone. You see this kid. Getting his money and he's adamant about being filial. I can't even persuade him. The smile on Su Ye's face was blossoming like a flower. Why not try this bracelet? 5,000 renminbi, Su Zhen continued recommending. 5,000 renminbi is still too cheap. Don't bother with those below 10,000 renminbi, Chu Yuan said with a wave. Quite a few people around them stared at Su Ye, their gaze filled with envy. Look at her kid, I'm so envious. Chapter 85. Your son no longer lacks money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 85. Your son no longer lacks money. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Chu Yuan did a quick scan, and pointed at a jade bracelet. Mom, this one isn't bad. The price is 12,000 renminbi, why don't you give it a try? Su Zhen took out the bracelet. Su Ye put it on, and her face lit up in pleasure as she held it up in front of Su Zhen's gaze. Su Zhen, what do you think? Does it look good on me? Gifts that my son gives me are just not the same. He's finally earned enough to spend on his mother. It does look good. Su Zhen nodded. Suddenly, at that moment, her entire body froze. She looked at the entrance of Kai Yuan Jade Ware. She thought that her eyes were fooling her, and she could not help but rub her eyes. Ling Lingchen. How are you back? She asked as she looked at Yi Lingchen in disbelief. Mom. I had some errands to run and was passing by, so I popped in to see you. Yi Lingchen said with a smile. He had seen everything that had just happened, and he felt remorseful. He had never bought anything for his parents. Su Zhen, is this your son? He's fairly good looking. Su Ye looked at Yi Lingchen, before continuing, today isn't a weekend. Is he skipping class? As far as I know, it isn't rare to skip class in university. Therefore it makes me feel even more certain that going to university is a waste of time. Chu Yuan immediately spoke up. It was rare for him to flaunt in front of a talent from Capital University. Forgetting himself, he continued, since he's back, I think he has run out of money for living expenses, and he's back to ask for more. Wow, he's already at university and he's still asking for money. I heard that a lot of university students still ask for money even after they've found a job. They really are babies who never grow up. I pity the parents of the world. Su Ye said with a sigh. In the store, quite a few heads nodded in agreement. Who can deny that? These days parents only hope that their sons become dragons, and their daughters phoenixes, and keep sending them for an education. But an education doesn't mean they'll get a good living. That's right. Not only is an education not an income, but it's a great expense. Children should just enter the workforce earlier. I know someone, just to let their children study, they've sold their house and got their children through university with great difficulty. However, their children still haven't found a job, and the house has already appreciated by a few million. Wow, what a bad investment. Su Zhen looked at Yi Lingchen, and asked out of concern, Lingchen, are you short? Tell mom now. Yi Lingchen shook his head, I just wanted to visit, but since I thought I never bought you and dad a proper gift, I decided to come in. Silly boy, why spend that money? Su Zhen laughed. Buy a gift. Su Ye could not help but laugh snidely, spending your parents' money, and still buy them a tiny gift worth a few hundred RMB. Yi Lingchen ignored her, "Mom, what's the most expensive jade piece here, can you show it to me?" The crowd looked at Yi Lingchen in disbelief. Su Zhen hesitated for a moment and brought out a jade bracelet. At first glance, the quality of the jade bracelet was far different from others. It was incomparably fine, without a single trace of any defects. Compared to the one on Su Ya's hand, it was like comparing a chicken to a phoenix. "This jade bracelet. How much is it?" Su Ya's eyes were wide open. "This is the treasure of this store, and nobody in the town can afford it. It was only meant to be a showpiece, the price tag is 188,000 renminbi. Su Zhen said. Everybody in the shop gasped and stared at the bracelet. 188,000 renminbi, this was an extreme statement piece, normal people would never even think of it. However, "I'll take it." The neutral tone made everyone's head turn, and their gazes fell on Yi Lingchen. This. He must be mad. Regardless of if he had money, even if he did, one should think before spending so much in an instant just to buy a jade bracelet unless they just had too much money and nowhere to spend it on. "You'll take it." Su Ya looked at Yi Lingchen in disbelief, and nearly laughed. "What do you have to take it? That's 188,000 renminbi, not 18 renminbi and 80 cents. Yi Lingchen's face was deadpan. "Really? To me, 188,000 and 18.80 are no different." With that, he took out a card and passed it to Su Zhen. "Mom, this is a gift for you. I'll pay by card." This. Su Zhen was stunned, and looked at Yi Lingchen, speaking in a worried tone. "Lingchen, calm down, it's not worth it to spend this much. Mom, this is just a bit of filial piety from your son. Don't worry, I can make money now." Yi Lingchen looked into Su Zhen's eyes, and continued, "Mom, don't you understand? I really do have money now." Su Zhen took the card with much trepidation, she was moved and unwilling all at the same time. "That's enough, Su Zhen, stop pretending. You're a salesperson in this shop. You and your son are putting on a show." Su Ya came to her senses, and could not help but laugh coldly. "We're all old schoolmates, how could I possibly not know about your situation? Why do you need to put up a show in front of me? That's right, how much can a university student make?" Chu Yuan added in disbelief. He claimed that he had opened a factory, but it was just a workshop with 5 staff in it. A year's profit was only roughly 100,000 renminbi. It was already an extravagance for him to spend 10,000 on a jade bracelet, he did not even think about one that cost 180,000. Yi Lingchen did not speak. He swiped his card and entered his PIN. The POS device chimed lightly, and the receipt was printed. The payment was successful. This. The entire place was quiet. Su Ya's jaw very nearly hit the floor, her eyes wide. She was unable to say a single word. The fact that Yi Lingchen had that much money in his card was surprising enough, but what was even more surprising was that he actually paid. Jadeware was not like other places. Once payment was made, a refund was impossible. That was to say, the transaction was real. Impossible. How could you have so much money? Su Ya ran over, and picked up the printed receipt of the POS device, and scrutinized it. The payment was for 188,000 renminbi, and not a cent less. "Hello, is Mr. Yi here?" At that moment, a young lady dressed in the uniform of a server walked in. What drew the eye was that she carried a transparent box in her hands. Within the box was a golden pipe that shined so bright it hurt to look at. "That will be me," said Yi Lingchen. The young lady walked over and spoke reverently. "Mr. Yi, good day. Here is the golden pipe you purchased, and your receipt for 200,000 renminbi. Please make sure you keep it." "Alright, thank you. Mr. Yi, this is a VIP card from Dashin Goldware. Your next purchase is 10% off. Yi Lingchen nodded. When the young lady left, the entire store was silent. They were all awed. Including Suya and Chu Yuan. What was originally a few whispered words of doubt was now completely silenced. Receipt, golden pipe, VIP card, any single one of them would be extremely attention-grabbing, and they might turn Suya blind. Mom, I'll need to head home soon, this golden pipe is for Dad, and you should wear the jade bracelet, it's good for you. Yi Lingchen smiled. Lingchen, tears formed in Su Zhen's eyes, and she could no longer speak. Mom, your son doesn't lack for money anymore, to the point that he can't spend it all. Chapter 86. Which why are you? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 86. Which why are you? Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Yi Lingchen's voice was not loud, but his words felt like hammer blows that pummeled the heads of all who were there. 1 golden pipe, 200,000 renminbi. 1 jade bracelet, 188,000 renminbi. Buying just one of them would make one's heart jump. However, he had bought one each for his parents. This was something that only the children of rich families could do. Chu Yuan's actions, compared to Yi Lingchen's, made him look like a beggar. Lingchen, you. How did you get this much money? Su Zhen asked hesitantly. Yi Lingchen smiled, Mom, I'm from Capital University. Other companies often recruit our students, and they wouldn't dare offer less than 1 million renminbi in annual income. I was lucky, and a company recruited me. The annual income isn't much, it's only just about 1 million, but there are incentives. Ah, you're boasting. Suya pursed her lips unwittingly, do you think we're dumb? You just got into university, and found a job, could it be you took a loan for this? Chu Yuan immediately nodded, I heard that a lot of university students take a loan for the sake of their reputation. And at the end of the day, they bankrupt their family. Ah, what a shame. However, before Yi Lingchen could reply, an automated voice could be heard from his cell phone. Account credited. 1 renminbi, million. Holy sh*t. A large number of people had their mouths agape, their jaws almost hitting the floor. It would take time for them to close them. Yi Lingchen frowned slightly and looked at his account statement. It was from Lu Hao, the notation for the transaction was compensation. Su Zhen looked at Yi Lingchen in awe, Lingchen, this. Mom, don't worry, I pulled in a large client last month, this is the commission from the company. As he spoke, Yi Lingchen shook his head in displeasure, now and then they transfer 1 million to me. What do I need that much money for? It's a pain in the butt. If you can't finish spending it, let me spend it. I also want to have that kind of trouble. In their hearts, the others wanted to relieve him of that trouble. Suya forced herself into a very stiff smile, Sister Zhen, your son has accomplished as a youth, it makes one jealous. He got lucky, Beijing is a big city, with a lot of opportunities. Su Zhen replied. That's true, but it just means that sending him out to study was correct. You've finally made something of yourself. Suya was acting weird, and was being extremely friendly, your son must have met a lot of people in Peking. We should meet up for dinner since we're old schoolmates. Your son could also help mine to get connections. Yi Lingchen stuck around at the store for a while longer, before Su Zhen nagged him to return to Beijing for classes and work. Even though she was extremely unwilling to do so, in her mind, the career of her son took precedence. As he walked out the door, Yi Lingchen immediately called Lu Hao. Grandmaster Yi. Lu Hao said, extremely cautiously. Yeah. You transferred the money. Grandmaster Yi, Li Si tried to cheat your friend of 500,000, I was so mad. I not only taught him a lesson on behalf of you but also had to give you some form of compensation. Lu Hao spoke in supreme humility, this 1 million is penance for his actions. If it's too little, just say the word. I have received the money. As for the business between us, we can consider it settled. Yi Lingchen simply said. Okay, Grandmaster Yi is very forgiving, he can contain a boat in his stomach. It's no wonder he's a noble. Lu Hao's mouth was full of empty praise, but his heart was full of joy. After he had met Yi Lingchen, he had immediately called Lu Tianxiong and told him about what happened from start to end. Lu Tianxiong was first shocked, but was overjoyed later. This was an opportunity to kiss up to Yi Lingchen. He immediately gave Lu Hao the authority to act. It was not easy to meet Grandmaster Yi. If one didn't make use of it, what difference would there be between them and a dumb *SS? Grandmaster Yi, what do you need? Lu Hao asked attentively. Yi Lingchen thought for a moment, help me buy a ticket back to Beijing today. Of course. Lu Hao immediately scurried off to do as he was told. Yi Lingchen could not help but laugh after he hung up. This father and son pair from the Lu family were interesting. When he got back to the campus it was already 10 p.m. He did not do much today, other than traveling between Beijing and Rugao City. He only went around gambling and showing off, but he was exhausted. He immediately requested a day off on Huyu streaming and fell asleep immediately after he returned to the hostel. The next day, he got up, washed up, then went for his morning exercise before having his breakfast. All in quick succession. Yi Lingchen felt his limbs, and his brows raised every so slightly. He will have to contact Lin Ao and replace his sandbags. The weight of each sandbag will need to be increased by 5 kilograms. Ever since he had started to improve his Arhat fist, he always felt that following his training, he experienced an exponential increase in his speed. His hands started to show masses of air, that flowed like water. Ding-ling-ling. At that moment, his phone rang. Looking at the notification, it was Xiao Feifei that called him. Lingchen, what connection do you have to the Y that recently surfaced? He had just picked up the call, and Xiao Feifei's extremely nervous question was heard. Yi Lingchen's heart sunk. Could it be that using the name Y was too high key, and was finally attracting the attention of people? Would he be unable to hide the existence of the system? He calmed himself, and immediately denied, I don't have any connection, I'm only the Y that's responsible for shooting shows. Phew. That's good then. Xiao Feifei sighed. Miss Feifei, what's wrong? You don't know. Right now, regardless of TikTok or the music boards, a new Y has suddenly appeared, and he's gone viral. Pausing for a moment, Xiao Feifei continued, especially that influencer called Chen Xiaoyan, she spoke openly, that she will only marry Y. She's called me 5 times now. Oh, that issue. Yi Lingchen felt a degree of relief. You don't know how serious things are, I'm a woman. I can feel Chen Xiaoyan's determination, she will definitely find a way to find Y. Xiao Feifei's voice was worried, she's determined to first confirm your identity through me. When you're alone outside, you need to be careful. You are a bit late with that, I've already half popped my cherry. Ah, it was difficult to be a man. Don't worry, Miss Feifei, I will be careful. Yi Lingchen said. Then that's all. Since you're not the Y she's looking for, then I can be at ease. Xiao Feifei said, before hanging up. The care Miss Feifei shows to me is rather weird, she would care about my virginity. Yi Lingchen thought to himself when at the next moment, his cell phone rang again. He looked, and it was Song Qian. Why, hello. Why is there another Y suddenly popping up? Are both of you connected? Song Qian asked in anxiousness as well. No relation at all, I'm just the Y that is in charge of live streaming. Yi Lingchen immediately said. Oh, if that's the case. Never mind then. Unlike Xiao Feifei, Song Qian sounded somewhat disappointed. Chapter 87. Your mother's calling you home for dinner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 87. Your mother's calling you home for dinner. After chatting with Song Qian for a bit, he hung up. Yi Lingqian naturally knew Song Qian's intentions. A streaming platform needed to attract traffic. If these YS were the same, then they could engineer a ploy and attract more people to the live streams and watch Why God. It was a shame that Yi Lingqian was naturally not going to admit that they were one and the same. Opening TikTok, the first post on his feed after refreshing was from Chen Xiaoyan. She wore a white dress of antiquated design and held a fan in her hand. Her voice was mellow and heavenly, and she sang smoothly, "Can I follow behind you, like a shadow following light? We would travel, I can wait at this street, and I don't care if you'd pass me by, every time you lift your head, even tears feel free. Being in love is like sunlight shining down, you have it and you lose it." There were already 3 million likes on it and over 30,000 comments. "It's so good, I keep playing it on repeat, I can't get enough of it, Chen Xiaoyan, I love you. She's all over TikTok, she's gone viral. Do you know you're so hot?" He scrolled down. The next thread was Chen Xiaoyan as usual, but the angle was different, it must have been shot by a pedestrian. Continuing to scroll, it was all the same. Scrolling once more, it finally wasn't her, but the background music was "Chaser of the Light." He scrolled again, and it Chen Xiaoyan again. However, this time she wasn't singing, it was a video essay. The name of this song is "Chaser of the Light." When I was trapped in darkness, it was the light I saw. I want to thank Y, he wrote this song for me and made me who I am now. I also want to thank him for the words he wrote for me. She then pulled out a piece of paper, and written on it were the words, "Don't despair. Life is like a heartbeat monitor, if it's flat, that just means you're dead." She continued to say, "Why, no matter where you are, I will be like in the song, following you from behind, like a shadow following the light, we could travel." This likes on this TikTok video far exceeded all those before, it had hit 5 million likes, and there were over 80,000 comments. It had exploded. Why, it's why again. Don't despair. Life is like a heartbeat monitor, if it's flat, that just means you're dead. This sentence is humorous and reasonable. This why is so talented it's terrifying. Terrifying, it's too terrifying. I'm starting to suspect this world isn't the world that I'm from. Chen Xiaoyan, I hope you finally find a light that is your own. This why is too impressive, Chen Xiaoyan, our goddess is completely obsessed. Let's all find why for our goddess Chen Xiaoyan. And this was only TikTok. The trending searches on Weibo put Chen Xiaoyan and Y on the first and second positions. At the same time, a wave of comments started, who was the person behind the different YS. Yi Lingqian's Weibo was blowing up. Movie Y, come out now. Do you know who are the other YS? I will summarize for everyone. Right now we have, Movie Y, Livestream Y, Superman Y, Songwriter Y, that's 4 YS. All of the YS are extremely impressive, the image of the peak of the industry. I can't take it anymore, I need to change my name, it has to have a Y in it. Apart from this, Chen Xiaoyan's Weibo also tagged Yi Lingqian and asked him about Y. To avoid a misunderstanding, Yi Lingqian immediately chose not to pay her any heed. He did not think that he would inadvertently become popular again. Truly. Life was full of surprises. Booting up the system, a popularity score that had diminished to over 3,000 had exploded to 65,873. With a bit more hard work, he could ascend another category of knowledge. The thought of that made him excited. Perhaps he should put in some effort, and push up his popularity. Yi Lingqian put his thoughts to action, and since he had no class, he immediately went to an internet cafe. Since everybody had already started calling out Y, he may as well ease their efforts. He first changed his Weibo account name to Movie Y. After that, he created 2 other accounts for Livestream Y and Songwriter Y. In order to maintain the air of mystery around the persona, Yi Lingchen did not create an account for Superman Y. When these Weibo accounts surfaced, it once again drew a wave of attention. There were countless comments, and his fan count began to rise exponentially. D*MN. They're finally starting to sort themselves. 666, I seriously doubt that there will be other YS in the future, this cannot possibly be a group. They seem like they've agreed, and none of them will reveal their faces. After creating the accounts, Yi Lingchen did not do anything. Instead, he watched as his popularity score continued to rise. In half a day, it had grown from 65,873 to 87952. It was just short of 100,000, that was too bad. However, almost at the same time, Yi Lingchen's Weibo beeped. It was Shirley, whom Yi Lingchen had insulted previously. He had gone under the radar for a few days, but had resurfaced again. He had not only tagged Yi Lingchen, but he also tagged the other two YS. At that time, just as the three Weibos were at their most popular, Shirley had jumped on the bandwagon, and shamelessly tried to gain some popularity. He posted a video of an action scene, and it looked like part of his new movie. Within, the two participants went back and forth, their movements smooth, and occasionally there were a few scenes of them running. The flurry of blades looked real and ferocious. At Live's Team Y. Your candle-blowing ghost was very well said, why don't you come and be a writer for my new movie? At Songwriter Y, Chaser of the Light is really good, why don't you write a song for my new movie? At Movie Y. Take a good look at what a big screen action movie is, you haven't gotten in yet. His actions gave him a lot of attention, the moment the video was released it immediately broke 100,000 views. The comments below were all in favor, and countless people all commented that they had to go to the cinema and watch the movie. Yi Lingchen smirked slightly. This fellow came out at the right time, just as he was trying to figure out how to attract more popularity. He was not rushed, and he replied one at a time. Livestream Y, Shirley, your mother's calling you home for dinner. Songwriter Y, Shirley, please get out of my sight with as little trouble as possible. Movie Y. Please could you roll into a ball, and after that, very slowly roll away. 3 replies had stunned those on Weibo who were not in the know. However, very quickly, the passionate masses found out the insinuations within. D*MN, aren't these 3 sentences saying the same thing? Get lost. 666,666, regardless of which Y it is, they certainly all have swagger. Ha ha ha, a talent, what a talent. I didn't think there would be so many ways to tell somebody to get lost. It's no wonder he's Y, just any word would make people think deeply. The meaning is deep. I declare, the trending statements on the internet have all been taken by Y. Of these 3 statements, the first one was the most euphemistic, and the easiest to use as a rallying cry. A lot of overly enthusiastic netizens flocked to Shirley's Weibo to comment, Shirley, your mother's calling you home for dinner. Chapter 88. An invitation to battle between movies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 88. An invitation to battle between movies. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Shirley's Weibo was suddenly bombarded by comments saying, your mother's calling you home for dinner. He turned green the moment he refreshed his feed. At first, he was content to let it be, but these words had even put his name in front of it. A personal attack, this was a blatant personal attack. Shirley steadied his breath, however, he was a smart man, and knew he could not insult all of the YS. Therefore he targeted Yi Lingchen. Apart from insulting people, what else are you good at? I will show you what true Chinese martial arts is. In recent years, military themes were gaining popularity. A lot of people dreamed of getting into the warriors department. Therefore, the notion of Chinese martial arts had crept into the hearts of people. Shirley's words immediately got the excitement of several martial arts fans. Seeing the effects of him jumping on the martial arts bandwagon, a smile crept across Shirley's face. He began to openly promote his movie, occasionally explaining a few martial arts techniques and martial arts jargon. It made the fans extremely excited. Yi Lingchen hesitated for a moment before he commented on movie-wise Weibo. Kung Fu has always enjoyed a long history and has existed since ancient Chinese times. Regardless of whether it is the heroes of the Three Kingdoms era, or the generals of the Tang and Song eras, or the Shaolin Temple that everyone is familiar with, we can see the presence of martial arts. However, in recent Chinese history, there are still people who study martial arts, and their legacy may be expanded into tradition or quietly respected with no recognition or publicity. However, the greatest warriors serve the people and the country. Martial arts is not just about fighting, it primarily exists in oneself. Everyone can become a warrior, everyone can be a hero to the people around them. This is determined by one's determination. Soon, I will be shooting a movie myself, and it will be about the legacy of a warrior of recent times. It will be called Huiyuanjia. Yi Lingchen was from the art stream, and he naturally studied history. He had long read the history books, and Huiyuanjia was a figure that gave him a very deep impression. The textbooks did not say much about Huiyuanjia, it only spoke briefly about his time fighting the Japanese, and studied martial arts. His fate was that he was a hero that was killed by Westerners in a battle, and the details were unclear. Therefore, not many people knew about Huiyuanjia. Due to Yi Lingchen's interest in Huiyuanjia's martial training, he had taken the time to find reference books about the matter as well as folklore. Only then did he know about Huiyuanjia's story. He was a hero that made the Westerners acknowledge Chinese Kung Fu. He was the one that preserved a shred of national dignity for the Chinese. History could not forget. Perhaps he should let more people be aware of this folk hero. As soon as he posted those words, Yi Lingchen's Weibo sunk into a short silence. Following that, like an avalanche, it reached a boiling point. The greatest warriors serve the people and the country. Everyone can be a hero to the people around them. Wow, I got goosebumps. Who didn't get them? My blood boiled, and I nearly picked up a weapon to cross the sea to pick a fight with the little nation of the sun. I was just in class, and the teacher came over to confiscate my phone. Without a word, I suplexed him into the ground. Do you guys respect me yet? I won't say much more, I need to write a letter of reflection, Huiyuanjia. Isn't this the name of a person? I'm looking forward to it. Just based on this sentence, I have to watch it. I only don't know if Y will star in it. A pebble caused 1,000 ripples. Yi Lingchen's Weibo not only made the large part of the audience reach a boiling point, even the entertainment industry started to stir. Shirley could not help but smile, and his eyes had a condescending air about them. This Y is too naive, thinking he could just shoot a movie by himself. He could not even take such a bit of poking. Was he going to learn how to shoot a movie by himself? Director, screenwriter, actor. He has nothing, how would he do it? Stupid, how stupid. When he embarrassed himself, Shirley would have to take the opportunity to laugh at him. In his joy, he could not help but reply to Yi Lingchen's post, I hope our movies premiere at the same time, and we can compare them. Hopefully, someone will know their place. Yi Lingchen replied, I hope so too. At the same time, Xiao Feifei was paying close attention to what happened. She paused when she saw Yi Lingchen's Weibo, and a flash of displeasure crossed her face. Was this not an empty boast? Hasty, too hasty. Sister Lin could not stop shaking her head, he doesn't have a cast or preparations, and he wants to compete for movies with Shirley. What kind of fantasy is that? Sister Lin, Lingchen is young. It's unavoidable that he would think he's indestructible. Xiao Feifei felt helpless herself. She took up her cell phone, she hesitated a few times over whether she should call Yi Lingchen. It can't be helped, I'll star as the female lead in his movie. Xiao Feifei was the queen of TV series and had never starred in a movie. If she were to advance to the silver screens, your debut role would be extremely important. It may even determine her position in the film industry. For her to sacrifice it for Yi Lingchen was an extremely unreasonable decision. However, she could feel Yi Lingchen's determination, and she did not speak up to advise him otherwise. Li Tai on the other hand immediately called Yi Lingchen. "Brother Yi, you want to shoot a movie. Do you need my help? I know a lot of movie directors, we can get in contact and discuss it." "Director Li, right now I only have a skeleton plan, and I am looking for an opportunity to carry our castings. Casting will not be an issue. Our series will be making casting auditions soon. There will be a great many people coming to apply for extras and other such roles. When you're free you should come and take a look." "That's great, thank you, Director Li. You're welcome. But when you make it big next time, don't you ever forget me." "Of course." Li Tai was discreet enough to not ask Yi Lingchen about sensitive questions such as the script. He only offered help wherever it was needed. Wu Yong was the director of I Am a Hero, in which Shirley starred in. He too was paying close attention to the matter. Other cinematographers and editors were there as well. When they saw Yi Lingchen's Weibo, they could not help but laugh cynically. He really is a greenhorn, does he think that shooting a movie is easy? A fresh initiate who doesn't know anything, even if he shoots a movie, will any cinemas allow it to be screened? Hui Yuanjia. What kind of joke is this? Just based off of the name you know it's going to be bad. Even if it can premiere, the showings will be pitifully little, he'll make a huge loss. This Y has gotten a big head, just a few days of fame and he doesn't know his place, how funny. Other such similar comments were popping up all over the place. In the entertainment industry, not many people looked up to Yi Lingchen. Especially since this was not some child's play. Yi Lingchen's Weibo was incredibly naive in their eyes. Yi Lingchen had no time to pay them heed. Shirley was using him to gain popularity, and he was not going to give Shirley any more help to boost his popularity. After some time, under Yi Lingchen's anxious gaze, his popularity score finally broke the 100,000 mark and had even achieved 118735. He could finally ascend one of his proficiencies. Yi Lingchen took a deep breath, and could not help but feel a sense of trepidation. The more he knew the benefits of ascending a proficiency, the more anxious he felt. Strangely, there was also a sense of excitement. Well, he should begin. Chapter 89. Warriors Department Selection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 89. Warriors Department Selection. Following a few proficiency ascensions, the number of proficiencies that Yi Lingchen had at 100% were fewer than before. There were only 4 left: 8 Extremities Fist, Martial Body Fist, Dota, and English. It seemed that he should go and expand his knowledge, and increase the number of 100% proficiencies that he had. To be honest, he hoped that he could gain more knowledge of martial arts. He had seen the strengths of Arhat Fist and did not know whether there were proficiencies such as levity and inner strength. As he kept thinking about it, he could not help but grin. He was going to ascend to the heavens. For proficiencies, well. Begin. The yellow orb began to jump around in Yi Lingchen's vision, and finally, landed on English. Eddie. Following a flash of golden light, the English proficiency disappeared, and was replaced with another one. Bird language, beginner. Yi Lingchen's eyes popped up. Did this mean that to the system, English was a bird language? What was referred to as bird language, generally referred to commonly seen birds, such as sparrows, magpies, and woodpeckers. Eagles, peacocks and the like are not included. Beginner bird language allowed Yi Lingchen to understand the language of birds. However, he could only understand it, and not communicate. When he reached the intermediate level, he could use bird language to communicate with birds. When he reached the advanced level, then it would be impressive, as he would be the friend of the birds, and could even give them commands. That was too cool, he would become the man who was king of the birds. He could not help but gaze at an electric pole. At this time, there are few sparrows chittering and calling. Ah, you're really beautiful, be my mate. Go away. You poor good-for-nothing. I want to be the mate of the bird king. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west, don't look down at a bird for being poor. Yi Lingqian could not help but shake his head in understanding. It seemed that no matter where one was, stories of love and war were all the same. He had just gained a new skill, and he heard the love story of the birds for an entire morning. He returned to the campus and prepared for his afternoon classes. At the same time, in the Beijing Warriors Department, a large amount of warriors had gathered, their expressions stern. Their facial expressions were a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Today was the selection day for the various district departments of the capital. Those who proved themselves would get the opportunity to join the 4 specialist training camps. On the viewing platform, sat 4 men. From left to right, they represented the pale wolf, dragon, wild tiger, and hawk training camps. These 4 men were the examiners for today. Their faces were stern, radiating heat. Their eyes seemed to gleam with light. Their aura was awe-inspiring, and they looked terrifyingly fierce. On their shoulders rested 3 orange stars. This signified that they were the senior guardians among the ranks of guardians. At this time every year, the 4 specialist training camps would send people out to each major city to carry out selections. These 4 men inspected the names on the lists in their hands, reading each name one by one. Beijing is the capital of the Chinese, and the district departments were exceedingly numerous. The number of candidates for selection today was 10,000 people. Of the 10,000, each of them was the most outstanding in their district. However, out of these 10,000, only 200 will be selected for specialist training. Other than the 10,000 in attendance today, there were numerous other warriors here to observe. At that moment, the 4 men on the viewing platform frowned at the same time, their faces showing their suspicion and displeasure. Fang Hong, front and center. The examiner of the Dragon Specialist Camp was an old man over 50, and he had suddenly shouted. His name was Qin Baichuan, he had short salt and pepper hair. His face was lean, and his eyes were slightly sunken. Fang Hong took 3 steps forwards, and roared, "Here! How many men in your district warrior department?" Qin Baichuan asked gravely. "Sir. 15 men. And how many men have you recommended?" Qin Baichuan's facial features grew darker. "Sir. 15 men." With each question and answer, it caused the bystanders to immediately change their facial expressions, and they discussed it endlessly. Is this fellow mad, recommending his entire troop? What ploy is this? He must be mad. Does he no longer want his position as an instructor, to play a prank on his superior officer? The selection examinations were unlike any other. Generally, one would pick the most capable out of each district, and allow them to participate. If there were too many capable men, and they both were confident, a district could let 2 men participate. There had never been anyone who had acted like Fang Hong, who sent all the men in his district. This was a selection, not a Sunday market. One had to know that the results of the selection tests will reflect on the records of the individual district instructors. If the results were too poor, that instructor will face censure. What is the meaning of this? Qin Baichuan glared at Fang Hong. Fang Hong returned Qin Baichuan's gaze, he was confident, and it reflected in his voice, "Sir, I think my warriors are all qualified to take part in this selection." This. Everybody was shocked into silence, and they looked at each other. They could sense the surprise in everyone's eyes. You are aware of the consequences. I'll give you one more chance when you've thought it through. Tell me your choice. Qin Baichuan continued to ask. I am aware of the consequences, but I have faith in my men. Fang Hong bellowed back. At this moment, Lin Ao walked out from the troop. He was originally here just to observe the selections. Mr. Qin, I can vouch for Mr. Fong. His 15 warriors are all worthy of participating in this selection. Lin Ao held his head high and kept his gaze fixed on Qin Baichuan. Lin Ao, on what basis do you vouch for him? Qin Baichuan frowned. He was the instructor when Lin Ao was at the dragon training camp. Because when they were training, I was there. I witnessed their passion. Lin Ao's back was straighter than a pole, and his eyes flashed. Qin Baichuan traded looks with Lin Ao for a long amount of time, before turning to Fang Hong, before he slowly opened his mouth, stand your men forward. Fang Hong immediately roared, troop, step forward. Bang bang. In perfect time, the 15 men stepped forward as one man, in perfect synchronization. Each of them was like javelins, entering into the gaze of each man. At this moment, even Qin Baichuan could not help but let his face turn solemn. Not only him, but the other 3 men on the viewing platform also showed some degree of shock. Oftentimes, the strength of a man did not come from his body, but more so from his heart. The body only represented the present, but the heart represented the future. From these 15 men, it was clear that they were the hope of the future for the warriors. When these 15 men stepped forward, the looks of doubt that were cast previously immediately evaporated. The other warriors all felt a heavy pressure. Are you all sure you want to participate? Qin Baichuan asked in confirmation. We are. The faces of the 15 men were flushed red, their necks strained. Their voices merged to form a rumble like thunder that rose towards the sky. Very well, I will allow it. Those words opened the curtains to an unprecedented scene. In Chinese, anything that is to do with bird can be a euphemism for the penis. It carries a negative connotation of pointlessness, or uselessness in this context. Chapter 90. That Silhouette. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 90. That Silhouette. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. To allow an entire district of warriors to partake in the trials at the same time was insane conduct for an instructor. That was because there must be a limit to the cream of the crop in the warriors. It just was not possible for every man in the entire district to be extremely capable. To let those who did not show good results to participate and then lag behind would only tarnish one's image. However, Fang Hong did just that with full confidence. The trial grounds were located on an empty and wide space. There were 3 trials. First was the obstacle course. The second, marksmanship, followed by thirdly, martial body fist. These 3 trials were one after the other, with no rest in between. After the obstacle course one had to proceed directly to marksmanship, and then martial body fist. There were 10 competition facilities, and each of them could contain 10 competitors. That was to say that at the same time 100 people could compete. As the selections began, the first batch of 100 men rushed forwards like cheetahs. For these selections, all of them had gone through countless hours of training. Every movement in their body was honed to the point of instinct. Every batch was extremely fast. The average time for the obstacle course was 3 minutes. The average time of marksmanship was 40 seconds, and for martial body fist, 3.5 minutes. When the first batch began the martial body fist, the second batch started on the obstacle course. Everything moved in order. It's almost your turn, how do you feel? Nervous. Fang Hong looked at the warriors in his troop and asked with a smile. Wu Yu scratched his head. Instructor Fang, a little, just a little. Instructor Fang, we're just afraid of embarrassing you. Another one said. Keep relaxed, and draw out the strength that you usually have, and you will not shame me. Fang Hong said nonchalantly. Yeah, didn't you set that man as your goal? Think more about him. Lin Ao said at the side. When that person was brought up, everyone grew solemn. Their faces slowly took on a steely determination. In their minds, they all thought of that person's silhouette. If he were here, they thought that he would shock the entire venue. Obstacle course. Marksmanship. Martial body fist. To that person, were they really trials? At the same time, they clenched their fists at the thought of that person staying. Next batch, get ready, the PA system announced. Wu Yu's face sank, and he traded looks with his troop mates before stepping forward slowly. Begin. Boom. In the blink of an eye, Wu Yu was out the gates, fast as a cheetah. At the very beginning, he had already outrun the rest of the group by half a meter, and this difference only grew as he went forward. All the obstacles before him were no longer obstacles in his eyes. At this moment, he thought he could see a silhouette. The youth's silhouette was in front of him, constantly passing through the obstacles with ease, his speed greater than his. Just a little bit, still just a little bit less. He definitely can catch up to him. He will become the man who was king of all soldiers. He's fast. The observing warriors were all shocked. The warriors in the same batch as Wu Yu were stunned as well. This is. On the viewing platform, the 4 men of the specialist training camps had all stood, their gazes electrifying. Their eyes were afire in shock and excitement. This man is a rare talent. This man, the pale wolf wants him. No. This man should belong to the dragon. Bulsh *T. He's like a tiger, he should belong to the tigers. Bang bang bang. The shooting course had begun. 10 shots sounded out, without a single pause in between. Wu Yu had forgotten himself. The youth's silhouette had not stopped when shooting, he could not stop as well. Oh God, he's gone mad, shooting 10 in a row like that. This is a trial. Has he given up? Holy *T. The results are out of the 10 shots, 8 are in the bullseye and 2 are in the 9th circle. This man wants to reach the heavens. After that, was the martial body fist. Wu Yu's movements however slowed. His facial expressions were focused, and he was meticulous. However, every single movement had to be perfect. His actions are stable, without any rush. Ha ha ha, very good indeed. Qin Baichuan roared in laughter. Next batch. Before the onlookers could snap out of their awe, the next batch had begun. Instructor Fong, we're going. Fong Hong's troop and the other warriors stepped forwards. Begin. This. Everybody could no longer speak. Their faces were stunned, as though they were sleepwalking. They're fast, why is this batch of people so impressive? Is this madness? Whose troop do they belong to? I think they're from Fong Hong's troop. Previously that freak Wu Yu was the same, a total of 15 men. This is too much. The 15 men had completed the trials with a surprising speed. Until the end of the trials, the audience did not snap out of their surprise. On the viewing platform, the 4 instructors had stood there for half a day without realizing it, their expressions conflicted. At 7 in the evening, the trials ended. Fall in. Attention. Sir, the trials have concluded. Wait. Qin Baichuan had interjected, and all eyes fell on him. Fong Hong, stand forward with your troop. Qin Baichuan looked at Fong Hong, report their results first. Fong Hong and his 15 men's faces were composed. They stepped forward and stood as straight as rods. Wu Yu, obstacle course, 89 seconds, first place. Marksmanship score 98, 15th place. Martial body fist, distinction. Aggregate score, first place. Shoo. The entire audience gasped. 89 seconds. I remember during the specialist trials the record was 93 seconds, is this a record breaker? This is too impressive, there will be another legend in the Warriors department in the future. Is this real? How is he so fast? Qin Baichuan looked at Wu Yu in satisfaction and spoke neutrally, continue. Yu Chong, obstacle course, 105 seconds, 16th place. Marksmanship score 98, 15th place. Martial body fist, distinction. Aggregate score, 20th place. Tian Feng, obstacle course, 107 seconds, 23rd place. Marksmanship. Bedo Dem of the 15 men, everybody was awed at each result report. Until the end of the reports, every man felt that their pulses quicken and their blood boil. Every single one of them passed. All the warriors in a district had all passed the trials. The worst performer was ranked at 182nd place and was still in the first 200. This was unprecedented. In the past, this would be unthinkable. Qin Baichuan roared in laughter, and looked at Fang Hong. Fang Hong, you're truly capable, keeping secret such a great training method. Tell us how you did it, and I'll give you an award. Sir, I don't have a special training method. Fang Hong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Kun Baiswan frowned slightly, and he did not dare to believe it. He pointed at Fang Hong, and smiled as he chided him, you little brat, keeping your secrets. Wu Yu, speak. How did your instructor train you? Wu Yu looked uncomfortable, and he frowned. It was as though he was not happy he had gotten first place. In